Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 45th episode of Daily Reflections. You do know I'm going to end at episode number 50, so we have six more to go, this being the sixth one. But, it's been an amazing journey interviewing some amazing people. This period has been really difficult. Today, for example, I really struggled to get out of bed, but I did make it to my exercise routine. And yeah, I have, learned a lot from the different guests that I've had on my show. Most of them are my friends, but I've realized that, you don't really know people. And it's only when you start having in-depth conversations where you employ active listening or deep listening skills, do you really dig deep and find who they really are? And, it's been really an amazing journey. And, well, today I have with me someone who I have gotten to know over the last few years. She is the diversity and inclusion lead at Microsoft, as well as Microsoft Women at Microsoft Lead, which are two separate programs within Microsoft. Good morning, Aarti. How are you?
Good morning, Elsa, and hi to everybody.
Where are you logging in from, Aarti?
Yeah, so lovely morning, logging in from my home, and I'm today using my son's room.
Oh, wonderful. We all have to find these corners of the house that work for us, right? Because it's about the lighting, about the quietness, about the strength of the Wi-Fi. Never thought all these things would come into play.
Yes. So I think this was the quietest room today because the kids were kind of jumping into my room, and I thought this is the best place.
So you're in the sales department, but you also have like these dual roles where you are the diversity and inclusion champion, right, at Microsoft. And you won several awards. So tell us about this diversity and inclusion program that you have, Women at Microsoft. You know, why is it important for a company to have such programs, and how does it really benefit women? What are some of the strategies that you all employ?
To give you a little longer answer on this, Elsa, the journey for Microsoft to be a very inclusive and diverse company has been very long. It started very long back. However, since I joined around 8 years ago, I always had this interest in kind of bringing more inclusion, bringing more variety in the conversation, bringing in more thought leadership in the conversation. So I was very happy to see that the company is doing efforts of those kinds. So I did pick up one of the charters that time, which is called as diversity and inclusion team. So we had a leader in the country, like other countries as well have, and we formed different teams and we picked up topics which were close to our heart, and we started off. So we started off with around 8 people in that team to now the DNI team, or the council, we call it DNI council, which is headed by one of our senior leaders, is having not less than 38 members who are actively participating. So now this is just one of the business units. Similarly, other business units within India, for example, we have global delivery, we have customer support, we have a lot of these business units, and each business unit has these charters which they drive. So one of my motivation was to see how I can help people bring this conversation on a priority. How can we bring in more awareness? And that is something that I really wanted to contribute to. Now, the second one came into picture when around 4 years ago, Microsoft decided that we would want to bring in more gender equality. We would want to ensure that we don't have pay gaps. We also wanted to ensure that the people don't differentiate women on the basis of their biases. and equal opportunities would be needed to be given to everybody. So that required an impetus, that required a little bit of push, because unconscious bias, as we know, is unconscious. People would certain times, say things which they don't mean, but they would say. So we wanted to make it a program which was more around awareness about these biases, number one. Number two was, how do we empower women in technology even more? How can we help the women talent that we have grow to the next level, and ensure that the right kind of opportunities in promotions and leadership levels are provided? And I would give you a data point here. In India itself, we were around 22% of women in the workforce, and that was around a couple of years ago. Today, we have crossed 25%. So these are the reasons, which continue to give me that inspiration, and I keep working with the women in Microsoft towards bringing this kind of awareness for themselves, and having males be their allies and help everybody grow to the, grow emotionally, grow in the organization, grow in their career as well.
Mentoring seems to be a large part of your role, as part of these programs. And I know you've been a mentor at several of our global mentoring walks that we host for Vital Voices every year around Women's Day. Tell us a little bit about mentoring. Is it a formal mentoring program that you have within Microsoft? I find that in my case especially, the mentoring programs that have been very informal have been the best. But sometimes you need these formal programs as well so that people can get accustomed to the idea of mentoring. Sometimes, it's misunderstood to be counseling, but it's not counseling. It's really having a guide, a friend who can help you navigate tough issues, but also open doors for you and, maybe help you with different perspectives.
Um, I am with you, Elsa, on this, and I think I have realized that whenever I had a formal mentoring engagement with leaders in this organization or before, in my 17, 18 years of career, I realized that most of the times, it kind of became a formality where they would consider this as an engagement which is time bound, and it needed to be concluded with some kind of asks which a mentor would raise, and a mentee would raise, and mentor would review and guide the mentor. But whenever we've seen the informal approach, so Microsoft doesn't have a clear cut formal engagement like a mentoring program, but anybody can reach out to anybody and ask that person to be a mentor or a sponsor or a guide. Uh, and it has worked much better than a formal program. However, within the engagements, like platforms that we set up, like Women at Microsoft, so we do host events where we kind of bring people together, mentors, mentees. We talk about speed networking events. We talk about speed mentoring events, where we just kind of bring them together, where people who are interested in being volunteer, who are interested in being mentors, people who are interested in really being mentees, and they just come together on a platform, and then they kind of connect and engage and informally take that relationship forward. They don't need to report it to anybody, they don't need to tick mark, they don't need to put it in a document, but they both have an understanding that they're helping each other. So I think this informal way has worked a little better than a formal buddy program or such kind of things.
Now, tell me a little bit about yourself. You are, you now live in Mumbai, but you grew up in Srinagar. Tell us a little bit about that, because I noticed that you've lived all over India, but what got my attention was that you started off at Srinagar. So, since it's in the news all the time, and I haven't been there except to the airport. So, I'm always curious about, uh, this beautiful state of ours.
Yeah, and I can't compare Jammu and Kashmir to any other place in the world. And frankly, visiting so many places, beautiful places in Europe, I felt that, I don't think beauty of Jammu and Kashmir is any different or any less. Unfortunately, the circumstances in last 30 years have deprived the state of, all of those, infrastructure related benefits. But I'm hoping that we are on a progress path now. I'm born and brought up in Srinagar. I completed my 12th standard there, but yes, couple of times we ran away. We moved out of Srinagar to Jammu. We had to stay in refugee camps for some time. We didn't have any relatives there because most of our relatives were in Srinagar, and everybody kind of vacated together when in 90s, major major situational issues happened, and the militancy caused that. But I think those were the hardships that we learned, and with those hardships, we figured out ways to thrive, survive, whatever you call. And in one of the days, my father was like, we were a like rich business family. We had a huge house. We had these businesses, and we left everything and we came. How do we survive? And a couple of times we went back, but we struggled big time. It was not great in terms of the living experiences over there. As I don't want to mention too much about the political part of it, but uh, and finally, one fine day, the big tragedy in our family happened, and one of my uncles uh, died in a bomb blast on very close to his business office in a shop. And that was the time, it was the last straw, and my father said, this is not the place we would want to continue to live, at least for the younger generation. And we were like a family, a big joint family. We were like six of us as cousins growing up together, and all of us then finally moved out. And I was sent to Maharashtra to do my engineering. I have completed my BE from one of the colleges in Kolhapur, a smaller district. That's where I learned Marathi too. So the journey has been, one way it has been very challenging, but the other way it has been very, very, very good in terms of the learning experiences, in terms of finding ways to survive, finding ways to thrive after that.
They say that your character is based on your life's experiences, and I noticed that resilience and perseverance is definitely something that comes through. It shines through. So I'm so glad that you found something positive in that experience, and I do hope that we can progress towards having a safe state where nobody has to flee their hometowns, etc. Having said that, I know that you are very passionate about sports and that you participate regularly in, these marathons, etc. So, were you always very sporty, or did you take that up as you went along?
I think I was always sporty. And I studied in a missionary school. It was 100-year-old school in Srinagar, very, very popular, well-known school, called as Mallinson Girls' School. It was set up by, Mrs. Mallinson, who came from, Britain to India. So you can imagine it is now 120 years old, and they wanted to ensure that all the right facilities are provided to children in the school. So they did focus on sports. So right from childhood, whenever we used to go to school, at least 6 months in the year, we used to go to school. 6 months we used to home study. But those 6 months, I'd never left an opportunity to play basketball, badminton, even cricket. So it was always, volleyball, different. I think I'm somebody who doesn't stay on to one thing, and I want to experience a lot of more. So I always wanted to learn a new trick, a new sport, and continue to do that throughout the childhood. Then in college, I picked up two which were easily possible for me to continue. One was table tennis, and the other one was badminton. So I had a couple of my seniors whom I said, listen, I don't have a coach, you become my coach. And those 2 3 seniors, would always coach, and help us, all the younger ones and juniors and again, in engineering colleges where are very, very few girls, right? So I always felt that those seniors were always supportive, and they showed the great the great characteristic of good people, and never had a situation where I would want to run away from a sport because somebody was not behaving well. And I think those are a few things which kept on in my mind, and I keep running. I do marathons whenever I can. Tata Marathon is my favorite. In Mumbai, I don't do, in other cities, don't get an opportunity, but I do yoga. That's my daily exercise. I follow some kriyas. I do those kriyas in the morning, try to do my exercises early in the morning. 6:30 to 8 is my morning time. That's my me time. And post that is when the day starts. So yeah, so that's, I think, these continuous engagement right from childhood kept me in that direction.
I wanted to go back to one of the points you mentioned, and a lot of people ask me when they come on my show, do you have a scripted question? And I'm like, no, this is a conversation. So I kind of pick up, on whatever you're saying. And one of the things that struck me was you said that when you went to school, you went 6 months to school and 6 months home study. And this COVID-19 is really home study, and everybody's complaining or struggling to figure it out. But you already did it many years ago. And, for very different circumstances, unfortunately. But that was reality for you. So how did you all cope during that time? Because there was no internet, there was no devices and all the other opportunities and resources that are available today for many of the kids. So tell us a little bit about that, because really part of daily reflections is helping people navigate through their fears during COVID-19 as well as find inspiration.
Thank you so much for asking this. This is one of my favorite topics, because I see people today are getting really, really stressed out and worried, and yes, there are more number of hours that people are putting at work, and if you see, the studies show that today people are, especially women, are exacerbated, and they're spending double shifts at work and at taking care of family members. But the situation these 30 years ago was totally different. It was, we hardly had electricity, 6 months in a year. So 3 months, 2 to 3 months was definitely winter vacation because of heavy snowfalls. So there would be no school anyways. And 3 months on and off, on and off, on and off was school. So if I went to school for 3 days and the fourth day there is a firing in Lal Chowk, fifth and sixth day, the kids have to be at home. So what we used to do is, and frankly speaking, I don't remember my parents ensuring that they sit with me to make me study. It was that we used to use a the lantern, or we used to use candles, and we would just study whatever we could, at that age, whatever understanding we had. And amongst all 5, 6 of us, we had those small wooden desks, which would open and you could put books inside. I don't know if you've ever seen those kind of things. And we would keep our books inside. We would open it up, and there was small attic, on top. Those traditional houses which have, which have those kind of, roofs, and there are attics. So the kids would sit in the attic quietly and study, and the rest of the family would be down. No internet for sure, no television except for Sundays, Mahabharata, Ramayana, or whatever it was, and rest of the time we were given for play, and there was no restriction around play because everything was within the house, and we had a garden and some backyard. But those 4, 5. 3 days in a week when we would go to school, we would bring in some work that teachers would give, but it was not formally given because they wouldn't know next day is going to be an off. So it was erratic. It was very it was very I don't know how to describe it, but it was just that responsibility of the children and their parents to just manage it on their own. And the good thing is, I think still, we were used to find opportunities, positive opportunities to play carom board, to play, those board games at homes. Those times, though, we didn't have these smart board games like these days. We have a lot of picture car and online games. We had just nothing. We would do cricket. We were six of us, and boys and girls would play cricket together. So we would find opportunities because that was our normal life. That was our normal life for so many years. For 16, 17, 18 years, this was the life we had. I remember right from 89 till 1992, the most difficult years when we were there as a family. My mother would just wake me up in the morning and say, "Please study yourself." She wouldn't be able to teach me biology. She wouldn't be able to teach me mathematics at 10th standard, 8th standard. And she would say, "Listen, I don't know how to teach you, but you will have to manage yourself." And I think that's somehow the kids in the family just picked it up on their own and said, "This is what we have to do." And it was motivation from within. Nowadays, I see, first of all, the parents are stressed out, and they have nothing else to do but spend more screen time on screen. I see a few of the kids, they get agitated. They're getting. In fact, I have two children, and I see my own kids. They kind of yearn for getting the iPads and the phones. In the afternoon, and afternoon 2 to 4 is a time when I have calls. I have business calls. I cannot attend to them. So we have ensured that we'll give them 1 hour in the afternoon to play or list or see YouTube Kids or whatever. But after that, from 4 p.m. onwards, they have everything as an online class. So yes, the circumstances are different, but yes, there are ways to still do things which take us to a positive direction, and not kind of cringe and get stuck in the negativity and the toxicity in our mind that we can't do anything. We still are able to go buy vegetables, and or things can get home delivered. Imagine a situation in Srinagar where it will be not lockdown, it will be crackdown. Crackdown means the army is going to search house by house by house. Nobody's allowed to go out. So for a week or so, we would not have any groceries or vegetables. So whatever was there in the garden, we would just pluck it and cook. So the things are completely different, and there is no comparison. We are a completely new generation now. The kids are a new generation now, but teaching them these values and telling them stories sometimes helps. And I keep telling my kids, this is how we used to. How would study in a candle? I just, we can't just take it. We wouldn't do it. Those kind of things. So it's really funny, but an amazing experience as well.
Thank you, Aarti, for sharing that. I know it's very deeply personal and it brings up a lot of memories, some pleasant and some not so pleasant. So, thank you for sharing with us. You know, I read that your mantra is get in and figure it out. Can you share that? I mean, I suspect a lot of it comes in from this uncertainty that you grew up with, so you didn't know whether today there would be a firing or not, and you had to just figure it out. But how do you apply it in your business and your professional life as well as your personal life now that you're not in a threatening environment?
So, first of all, the profession itself, it is sales, right? So you have to figure things out. You have to ensure that the clients understand your value proposition. And, sometimes you say that a salesperson is a single person, but the salesperson is also an army, because that army is behind the scenes. So I've always seen that I would pick up a situation or a deal or whatever it is, and take it up as a challenge. And even if it, especially when it is even more difficult, whenever I've seen, like currently it's COVID, right? So customers do come back with their concerns that they're not in a great situation financially, and they will not be in a position to continue doing XYZ business with us. And that's how I find that opportunity too. And we realize that if our solution or service is really valuable to the customer, if they have found benefit into it last time, in good times, and we are able to help them in these times, why can't we explain and set that value proposition in front of them? And that's what we do. And I don't consider myself as a single person. We work as a huge team, and everybody behind the scenes as well comes together. And I definitely try to delegate work downwards and upwards too, and try to find solutions. So finding solutions is the key thing here. That's why the mantra: get in and figure out. If we don't find solutions, we'll never get there.
Would you consider yourself to be an entrepreneur within your company?
I think we all are. And companies like Microsoft or all these large technology companies, everybody has a role to play, but that role is not limited to the job description. The role is generally a little bit beyond that. So how do you really make an impact on yourself, on your business, and on the larger society? So since we've seen huge cultural change that Satya is driving in last 4 years, the company has done extremely well because there is a lot of empowerment, there is a lot of opportunity, and there is a lot of accountability. Okay, so these things have been kind of clearly mentioned and clearly expressed to the teams, that they take the right decisions ethically. They be entrepreneurs of their own business, and they find ways to make things work with the help of teams. So they are basically entrepreneurs. But yes, I do have a dream of starting my own business. I don't know when, but I think I have a plan, but I need to start working on that. So yes, we are all entrepreneurs within the company, but I want to start something of my own too in future.
That would be amazing. I think you would be a great entrepreneur. Sometimes we believe that we need more time. Sometimes we are afraid to take that step to get out of our comfort zone. And what I found in aviation, all the skills that I learned have come to great use with Red Dot Foundation. So I wish you luck whenever you're ready. No pressure. The last question really is, when you were growing up in Srinagar, did you ever think you would be working for a big company like Microsoft? And what is the advice you would give your 16-year-old self?
So when I was a young kid, I don't think I knew what is Microsoft when I was in school. That's the truth. I did not know when I was 13, 14 years old. When I went out to do engineering in when I was 18, that is the time I heard this name for the first time, because I was in an engineering college. And till then, it didn't strike me as much. And once I moved out of engineering college and I came to Mumbai, I'll share a funny story. I started working with, I went to Delhi first, and then after Delhi, I came to Mumbai. I liked Mumbai better, and I stayed with a couple of my relatives and started working in IT. And one day I was in Nariman Point going on a sales call to one of our customers in very close to Free Press House. And I went to a meeting in Free Press House, and lo and behold, there was Microsoft's board there. They had a small office in Free Press House, and I kind of dreamt it. I said, one day, I would work in this company. That time I was like, I think 3-4 years in the work experience. So I don't know how to express, but I believe in law of attraction. I very, very strongly believe that you can manifest your thoughts. And if you really think and be very focused on and very concise about that, you give that message to the universe, and the universe makes that happen for you. So it so happened that after working in so many different companies, where I spent not more than 4 years max in one company, and when I came to Microsoft in 2012, and now it's 8 years, I'll be completing 8th year now. This is the longest stint. So my advice, or my advice to myself, if I was 16-year-old, that if you have a dream, and if you dream big, never leave your dream. You can manifest your thoughts. You can manifest your dreams. Keep your focus, because it's not just placing an order onto universe. It means placing an order, but also working towards getting it. So that's something that I really follow deep inside.
And how are you keeping yourself safe during safe and healthy and sane during this COVID-19? What are some of your strategies apart from your yoga in the morning?
Okay. So there is a standard routine that I follow, and my earlier routine was not as much very well. When the lockdown started. So from 22nd March, I have not stepped out of the house. One of the members in the family now, my husband is that member. He would go out and buy the required groceries or vegetables once a week, and all four of us, so we are two of us and two kids, we have clear routine set and timetable set for the children. First few days was messy. I was getting stressed. I was doing everything on my own, cooking, cleaning, and I felt that why nobody else is helping me? Is it just my responsibility? So I would tell my husband, okay, during weekdays, I will do whatever best I can. If it's khichdi, it's khichdi. If it is dal chawal, it's dal chawal. Maybe I cannot cook paneer for you, for the kids today. So please bear with me. But weekends, I am not going to cook at all, and you help me with the rest of the household chores. So kids started helping. They started doing stuff. So they also got to understand the value of it it worked out. Now everybody follows a routine, and I try to keep myself sane by listening to a few guided meditations. So that has helped me. I follow Mind Valley, Calm, Deepak Chopra books. I read books whenever I get time, but there are clear demarcations in the times. Like, this is my time, I would do this. This is time with the family, let's watch something together. Okay, or I'll read something to the kids, or we'll play something together. So the difference between both the kids is also quite amazing. So one is turning 13 very soon. This next month he'll be a teen. So it's a different kind of experience how my boy works and thinks and talks. And the younger one is 6-year-old girl, so her interest areas are totally different. So so I have to separate that time for both, and either me or my husband spends that time with them whenever we are out of our calls and our day-to-day work schedules. I've seen that my work is doubled from work perspective. People earlier thought that we are going on customer meetings, so during travel we would do few calls, but now there is no travel to customer meetings. Now there is no travel to office. So I use that time to cook, and the rest of the time just goes on back-to-back calls, customer calls, internal calls. But I've told my leadership and management that I would want to stop working at 6 p.m. and 9 to 6 is my formal work, and I put an out of office after 6 p.m. So if there is nothing urgent, I'm not going to work. So I think putting clear timelines, putting kids timetable, doing your meditation or whatever is, if it's fitness related stuff, home exercise, etc., whatever is good, this needs to be in the right state of mind. So if this is in the right state of mind, everybody in the family is in the right state of mind.
I like that, negotiating with your employer about, or rather not being firm with your employer about, the end time to your day, because clearly, Microsoft is a global company. You can continue working 24 by 7 if you allow it. So you have to have boundaries. And what's the one thing you're looking forward to once this travel restriction is lifted?
So, Elsa, my biggest passion is travel. I have taken solo trips. I have told my family, and I think I'm pretty good at convincing people. So I've always taken support from, and my mother-in-law is super sweetheart. She and my father-in-law have always supported if I wanted to travel to some country for work and then extend that travel to take some time off. And I do that every July, August, because that's the time when the fiscal ends, and July is the time when new fiscal starts in Microsoft. So I do take time off of at least a couple of weeks after work trips. So I would want to get back to a plane, get back, go to some place, see, mingle with new people, make new friends. That's something that I would want to do.
Wonderful. So, on that note, we wish you all the very best. We hope that you can get on a plane and check another place off your bucket list. And thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. It was very insightful, very deep, I would say. It's really personal. So, thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the day. Bye bye.
And for everyone else watching, we just have 5 more episodes. Don't forget to log in 10 o'clock every morning, only till the coming Sunday. Thank you. Bye. Stay safe, stay home, stay healthy.